Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. This is the sixth part of What If Deku Was Sanji's Reincarnation, My Heroes Reborn. The author of this great fan FIC is Emma. I will leave links to them and original story in the description. Chapter 6, Back to School. Izuku walked to school, a little worried. He could barely remember anything after Priestess hit him with her quirk. She wasn't sure how his classmates would take everything. As he got to UA, he saw Mashireo leave his parents' car and immediately go in the wrong direction of the school gates despite it being right in front of him. Thankfully, Izuku grabbed his arm, knowing that he was aware of the fact he couldn't find his way out of a paper bag was a reason why he managed to avoid going into Sanji mode. "Come on. I'll help make it on time," said Izuku. "Thanks," sighed Mashireo. So how bad was he? Izuku realized who was talking to. "You don't want to know," said Izuku with his eye twitching. They switched out their shoes, and found Aizawa waiting for them. However, both of them jumped when they saw him. "Mr. Aizawa, what happened?" asked Izuku. "You don't remember what happened, but this is the end result of the USJ," said Aizawa. "Wait, can you even see us?" asked Mashireo. "Look, that's not important," said Aizawa, showing off he can still see them even with the bandages. This just made the two boys' sweat drop. "So what did you want to talk about?" asked Izuku. "I'll introduce you to the class, because they'll want an explanation," said Aizawa. Neither argued because he had a point. They might have not remembered anything from that day, but they were hit by a quirk that few heroes were able to shrug off. "Yeah, I guess that's a good point," said Mashireo. "But won't that make the others think we quit?" asked Izuku. "You're the third one that said that," muttered Aizawa. They realized they weren't the first to arrive, but also that at least two of the others had beat them to school. "Deku! Mashireo!" called out Achiko. "Uraraka!" said Aizawa. "Oh, Mr. Aizawa," she said politely. He explained once again how they were going to handle the morning. Soon enough, it was time for class. It was somewhat tense in the classroom, as they noticed the 5 empty desks. "You don't think they all quit, do you?" asked Mina. "Maybe they needed a few more days," said Tsuyu. "Who knows what kind of past lives they had through," said Shoji. Bakugo just glared at Izuku's empty desk. That was when the door opened and they were surprised at Aizawa and his bandaged state. "Now I'm sure you have questions about your classmates after what happened," said Aizawa. The 5 entered the classroom, immediately cheering up almost all of their classmates. Bakugo just glared at Izuku. However, he became very unnerved when Izuku saw him and started to glare at him back. "Look, they'll explain as much as they want, then answer any questions you have about their past lives. Don't press them. Also keep this short as possible because I have an announcement I'd rather make today than another day," Aizawa explained. This just made the entire class sweat drop. "All right," said Momo, taking charge. "As you can all tell, we're remaining in the hero course. We have gained many of the abilities of our past lives, but not all of them. Our past lives all came from different worlds as well. Also, we'll have personality shifts sometimes." "Personality shifts, what does that mean?" asked Kaminari. "Probably something like when Midoriya glared at me," said Sato. "I'm sorry, I don't remember much from the USJ," admitted Izuku. "You glared at me after I got that villain off you," said Sato. "Wait, you hit a woman," said Izuku, glaring at him. Then he started blushing. "I'm sorry about that. I have some stuff I need to work out," he said, apologizing. This just made the class sweat drop at this. They decided to give a quick introduction about their past lives. Mashireo was the first to go, mainly because no one saw him fight. "I was a wandering martial artist in my past life," explained Mashireo. The class thought it was cool, but it was clear he didn't want to explain why he was a wandering martial artist. Toru was the one to go next, due to only one person saw her, fight. In my past life I was a party planner, baker, guardian of the kingdom and a talking pony in a magical world filled with ponies and other talking fantasy animals. Explained Toru. Can you repeat that? Asked Kaminari, because all I heard was crazy. Everyone ignored Kyoko jabbing him with her earphone jacks. Wait? Asked Todoroki, since this was bother him for a while, where you get all those party supplies. I don't know. Said Toru, I can just pull them from somewhere, it's kind of like my party cannon. She pulled out a cannon from somewhere. See? Said Toru. Everyone in the classroom, including the other 4 reincarnations, stared at the cannon. This really was news to them. Momo was the next to go, as it was probably better to switch gears after the whole I don't know where I'm getting these things revelation was turned up to 11. I was a mage whose magic was based around switching out weapons and armor. Said Momo, I now know how to use over 100 kinds of weapons. We saw you fighting the villains when you were out of it. Said Kaminari, you were awesome by the way. Wait, can you still use magic? Asked Mina. No, I can't, it's complicated. Said Momo, but my quirk makes up for it. The class was thinking about how awesome it was. Achiko was next. Well, in my past life I was ninja. Said Achiko somewhat nervously. Really, does that mean you could do that log trick? Asked Kaminari. And run on water? Asked Kirishima. And hide in the shadows? Asked Tokoyami. Well, I can't do the first 2 anymore as that required a mystical energy I can't use anymore. Said Achiko, blushing a lot, but I still remember a lot of my stealth training and other things like that. Even if I'm not as strong I was in my past life, I will work on honing the skills I did keep. A lot of the class was in awe of this, however they all knew that one they really wanted to hear about. Izuku, he gulped a little. Well, in my past life I was a pirate. Said Izuku, I know I was a criminal in my past life, but the world was very different than this one. Hey, that villain who attacked you. Said Siro, she snapped and ranted about you a lot. Wait, why would she rant about me? Asked Izuku. Oh, priestess has the ability to view the memories you all received. Said Aizawa. Why didn't anyone tell us? Yelled the 5. All 5 calmed down. Wait, didn't Aiko say Hibiki was kind of dumb without his past life memories? Asked Toru. The other 4 sweat dropped. So what did she rant about? Asked Izuku. Well, she started ranting about how you were a monster. Said Shoji. And about how your legs were the world's most dangerous weapon. Said Mina, remembering that part of the rant. Yeah, me and the other 2 strongest members of the crew were called the Monster Trio, though a member that joined later was close to matching us in strength. Explained Izuku. She also said that you were the weakest. Said Sato. Well, it was all relative. I think me and my crew member was just about equals, but we had different strengths and weaknesses. Said Izuku, but there was no denying that Luffy, our captain, was the strongest. Wait, how strong was that guy? Asked Mineta in shock. I saw how you tore in those villains. And if you were that strong? Izuku was blushing. Wow. I hate to see how that guy was reincarnated. Said Kirishima. Well, a lot of strength came from something similar to a quirk that gave him rubber powers, so I don't know if she found his reincarnation and gave him his memories if he'll be the same. Said Izuku, who then entered one of his muttering fits. Then again, he would have hockey considering I have it too, and knowing Luffy he would just roll with the punches, creating any sort of new moves with whatever his quirk was. Can you please stop? Said Tsuyu. Oh, sorry about that. Said Izuku. After Ida left, she also started ranting again, about some really crazy stuff. Said Mina. Really? About what? Asked Izuku. She mentioned that your world had cyborgs despite using sailing ships. Said Shoji. Oh yeah. Said Izuku, in fact one of my crewmates was a cyborg. What, seriously? Yelled almost the entire class. How did you have a cyborg? Asked Ida incredulously. He was also a technological genius who built all sort of insane inventions ahead our world's technology. Said Izuku. Also, I never asked how he became a cyborg, so. This just made the class sweat dropped. She mentioned something about islands in the sky. Said Sato. Yeah, thanks to weird cloud formations there were islands in the sky. Said Izuku, and people do live up there. It's really interesting. The class was a little confused, but it was clear that Izuku wasn't sure of the science of it either. Also, she mentioned something about a starfish who thought he was a human, so he learned to talk. Said Mina. Oh yeah. Papagu, he was a friend of ours, he was a very prominent fashion designer. Said Izuku. The class just stared at him in shock. It was clear he wasn't messing with him because of his tone of voice. That just raises further questions. Yelled Mina. Alright, I think that enough. Said Aizawa, who really didn't want to hear about the insanity anymore. But I can explain more. Said Izuku. Sit down, all of you. He said. They all sat down at their seats, and Izuku sighed being so close to Bakugo. Alright, now like I said I have another announcement. Said Aizawa. The class was wondering if it had anything to do with the USJ, which was still a big deal. The sports festival is coming up. He explained. That's it. Said the class, surprised at the mundane announcement. What are you still focused on the starfish? Asked Aizawa. Koji Koda, a rock-headed student that was so shy he rarely ever spoke, signed something that seemed to translate to starfishes don't have a brain like most animals, how can it learn to talk? Just pretend you never heard about a talking starfish. Muttered Aizawa. This just made the class sweat drop. Is a good idea to have the sports festival after the villains attack? Asked Kyoka. Don't worry, they're taking precautions. We're upping security. Said Aizawa. It's not something that can just be cancelled. Said Momo, it is one of the biggest sporting events in all of Japan. She's right. Pointed out Izuku. You're just saying that because you two now have a huge boost. Said Mineta, what if the villains show up to attack? Look, it doesn't matter. Said Aizawa, this is important for all of you. The top agencies will be watching, and when you graduate they will be looking for sidekicks. This is the best way to show those agencies what you have. 3 chances in a lifetime. If you want to go pro you have to make a good showing. All of the students were excited after that. Class is dismissed. Said Aizawa, also Hagakure. Please put away the cannon. Turned out she had left it out and she put back it came from, which was better off not knowing. Later at lunchtime, everyone was excited for the sports festival and was talking about. Yeah, the sports festival is amazing and like the Olympics. Said a voice from the doorway. Everyone class turned to the voice and it was Hibiki. Hello, I'm Orchestra Rave, I'm a hero and a new special counselor to your classmates. Said Hibiki, I need to talk to them as well as your class rep, whoever he or she is. Why do you want to talk with me? Asked Ida. Probably something about our therapy. Said Mashireo. Actually Tails, it's about you. Said Hibiki. Oh seriously? Yelled Mashireo, realizing what it was about. The 6 students follow them into the hallway. Is there something I need to know? Asked Ida. I lost my sense of direction. Said Mashireo, I didn't have it in my past life and after getting my memories I just lost it. That's exactly why I needed to talk to you about. Said Hibiki. He gave Mashireo a bracelet. Here, it's a tracking device. Said Hibiki, waterproof, fireproof, practically indestructible and a connection to Aiko. But only if you take it off. Said Aiko, this way I'll know in case you take it off and remind you if you forget it. Also there's a couple buttons. He also took out 5 transceivers. Each of you gets a transceiver. Said Hibiki, his parents already have them, and I gave some to Aizawa and Nizu, I also have one. Not only that, but your transceivers have emergency beacons that the other transceivers don't. The bracelet also has the same buttons. So if you run into trouble you can hit the emergency button and everyone with a transceiver will know where you are. And don't worry, I'm only connected them in emergency mode, or if you decide to hit the Aiko button, please don't abuse the Aiko button. I'm not Siri. Explained Aiko. Alright, class rep, this is my assistant Aiko, she's an AI. Said Hibiki. But my name is actually AIKO, it stands for Artificial Intelligence, knows objectively. Said Aiko. None of them were able to stop Ida from asking objectively what? Aiko was silent for a bit. That I'm better than you. She once again played that air horn sounds effect. That joke's going to get old one day. Said Hibiki. That day isn't today. Said Aiko. Also, I heard about the sports festival. Said Hibiki, though if I were you, I wouldn't worry about it. What's that supposed to mean? Asked Izuku, entering Sanji mode. Just trust me on it. Said Hibiki, once again brushing it off. You're hiding something. Said Momo. Oh. I think I get it. Said Toru. Wait, that would ruin the surprise. Said Aiko. Okay, I'll keep my mouth shut. Said Toru. That worked. Said Aiko, if she wasn't an AI she would have a sweat drop. Look, I'll see all of you besides class rep after school. Said Hibiki, I set up a special therapy room for us. Wait, there's something I have to do before. I can't explain right now, but I'll explain during the session. Said Izuku. Alright. Just don't be a half hour late. If it takes that long I'm going to have Aiko find you and annoy you until you get to the session. Said Hibiki. I won't take that long. Said Izuku with a sweat drop. Good, see you later then. Said Hibiki. Don't forget anything this time. Called Ochiko. Yeah, like the part that the villain had the ability to view our memories. Said Mashireo. Did I forget to bring that up? Said Hibiki, face palming. I would like to reiterate, he would be pantsless without me. Said Aiko. One time. He yelled. Why is he your counselor? Asked Ida. He also has memories from his past life. Said Izuku. I see. Said Ida. Come on, we should really get lunch. Said Izuku. The others looked at him. How did a talking starfish become a fashion designer? Asked Ochiko. Izuku breathed a sigh of relief. Thankfully this was one of the less weird explanations he would have to deal with. Though it did deal with mermaids and fish people, which in hindsight made sense. Oh, so he became famous on an island under the sea and it spread elsewhere. Said Ochiko. Exactly. Said Izuku. How can an island be underwater? Asked Ida. It was in a bubble. Said Izuku, please don't ask any more about, I don't know the science and I gave up on logic in my past life when it came to these things. Why would you just give up on logic? Said Ida. I just told you about a talking starfish becoming a famous fashion designer on an undersea island in a bubble. I'm pretty sure that sentence speaks for itself. Muttered Izuku in Sanji mode. This just made everyone but Mashireo sweat drop. However, things only just got weirder. I have found you. Called out All Might in his hero form, I am here. And I would like to have lunch with young Midoriya. It should be noted he was holding a lunchbox and handkerchief covered with bunny heads. Not only that, but his body language screamed, I want to eat lunch with senpai. Ochiko and Toru began to giggle at this sight. Oh sure. Said Izuku, sorry. It's fine. Said Momo. Go have lunch with All Might. Said Mashireo. Thanks. Said Izuku. They met in the teacher's lounge. So how are you holding up? Asked All Might, having switched back to his true form. Morning was rough, apparently I gave the villain a breakdown. Explained Izuku, and they wanted to know if it was true. 13 told me she started ranting about a talking starfish and islands in the sky. Said All Might. Those are real. Said Izuku, entering Sanji mode. My world was really weird. All Might coughed up blood in shock. I'm sorry. Said Izuku. It's fine. Said All Might, so tell me, have you thought about the sport festival? Well, I was already planning to train to see if I can properly use both hockey or diable jam in a combination with one for all and see if that affects my body. Said Izuku, but training is going to tough, and I was planning to ask Momo if she can help me train me out of something. Let me guess, you can't hit women. Said All Might. How? Said Izuku. You weren't able to attack Priestess while you were in the feral state. Said All Might. I know that men and women are equal, but part of me won't let me hit women. Said Izuku. Yeah, that is something you're going to have to get over. Sighed All Might. That's not the only problem. Said Izuku. What is it? Asked All Might. I don't know if I'm going to be able to use my hands for fighting anytime soon. Said Izuku. What? All Might asked, clearly confused. I told you I was the cook, however I learned that a chef should never damage his hands, and my adoptive father taught me how to fight without using them. Said Izuku, I do enjoy cooking now even more than before, but I don't consider myself a chef anymore. I didn't think we would have to have this talk so soon. Said All Might. What do you mean? Said Izuku. One for all is now yours. You have to make it your own, you don't have to copy me exactly. Said All Might. Izuku smiled and nodded. But you do have to get over not hitting women. Said All Might. I know. Said Izuku, at least that problem isn't as bad as Mashireo's. What's wrong with him? Asked All Might. Meanwhile, just outside the cafeteria. How did lose him already? Asked Achiko. I don't know. He was just here a second ago. Yelled Momo. We were in a group. How lost can he get? Asked Ida. I found him. Said Toru, checking the tracking receiver. He's on the 3rd floor. How did he get there? Yelled everyone else. Back in the teacher's lounge. You'll find out eventually. Said Izuku. All Might could only sweat drop in response. Yeah. Sighed Izuku. So you mentioned something called hockey and diable jam? Asked All Might. Izuku lifted up his leg and it turned black, surprising All Might, but it was clear that there was something to the blackness. I don't know if I should show diable jam. Said Izuku. Why not? Asked All Might. Well, it involves fire. Said Izuku. What do you mean it involves fire? Asked All Might. Well, I use friction to light my leg on fire, it doesn't hurt me despite how it sounds. Said Izuku. You can put it out, right? Asked All Might. Izuku nodded. Then show me. Said All Might. Izuku lit his leg on fire. Talk was one thing, but seeing it action was another, and he coughed up blood in shock. I'm sorry. Cried Izuku as his leg was no longer on fire. It's fine. He said, I wasn't sure if you were making it up or not. Why would I make up that I could light my leg on fire? Asked Izuku. All Might didn't answer. Hey, there's something I wanted to ask you. Said Izuku. All Might looked at him, wondering what it was going to be. I was wondering if I could make meals for you. Said Izuku. Wait, what? Asked All Might. I know it sounds weird, but I already told you I enjoy cooking much more than before. Said Izuku, I understand if you don't want me to. No, it's fine. Said All Might, maybe you can make something that will actually be palatable. Don't worry, it will be more than palatable, said Izuku, going in Sanji mode. I really hope he knows what's he getting into, thought All Might. He also wanted to give him advice on making a good showing with the sports fest, however he knew that no matter how far Izuku got, he already had an advantage. And it had nothing to do with One for All. Meanwhile, in the cafeteria. So, you really don't know where you're going? Said Ida. No, I once got lost in an apartment trying to find the exit, sighed Mashireo. So? Said Toru, changing the subject. What do you think that All Might wanted to talk to Izuku about? I don't know, said Momo. Wait, do you think it's what Tsu said on the bus? Asked Achiko. On the bus ride to the USJ, she pointed out that Izuku's quirk was similar to All Might's. Maybe that's it, said Ida. All Might must have noticed and wanted to talk about that, said Achiko. They didn't notice that Todoroki had been listening on the conversation. Once school was out for the day, Izuku knew he had to do what he had to do. He gathered all of his courage and fully went into Sanji mode, even putting a toothpick in his mouth. Bakugo, he called out. Bakugo froze and turned around. We need to talk, and I'm not taking no for answer, said Izuku. Fine, whatever, said Bakugo. They found a place to talk in private. So you finally decided to stop calling me that stupid name, said Bakugo. I hate to admit, but I changed thanks to the memories, muttered Izuku. I barely noticed, muttered Bakugo. Look, I just wanted to let you know I'm not taking your shit anymore, said Izuku. Bakugo stared at Izuku. He looked at his eyes. It was as if someone had stolen his body. Everything about the way he held himself, it was just wrong. It was actually unsettling. Of course he wouldn't say it out loud. I let you get away with it because I admired. I looked up to you. Admired your skill, how you never gave up. But now, I learned a lot of things about myself and I didn't like it, said Izuku. What do you mean you looked up to me? Yelled Bakugo. Have your explosions damaged your ears? I said I looked up to you, even when I was powerless, yelled Izuku, and I don't anymore. Don't lie to me. I know you pitied me, said Bakugo. What do you mean pitied you? Asked Izuku. Then it clicked in his mind. Shit, you thought any time I was cornered as pitying you? Asked Izuku. You thought kindness and basic human decency was pitying you? Bakugo didn't answer. There is something wrong with you, said Izuku. Izuku started to walk away. For the time being, I want nothing to do with you unless we have to work together, muttered Izuku. Talk to me when you learn basic human decency. Deku, yelled Bakugo. I just told you, said Izuku, turning around. I don't want to hear another shitty word out you unless we have to work together. Besides, I'd rather not fight in the hallway. Bakugo didn't respond as Izuku once again turned around to leave. Once Bakugo was out of sight, he left Sanji mode and started crying. He knew he had to go to the therapy session, but then realized something and he sighed. He took out his transceiver and activated the Aiko button. I know. Hibiki forgot to tell you where the therapy. I heard it from the others. Sighed Aiko. You want to hear the pantsless story? No. I'm not in mood. Sighed Izuku. Dang it. I wanted to tell that story, muttered Aiko. She told him where the therapy room was. Nit was learn everyone was waiting for him. Glad you can finally join us, Long John Silver, said Hibiki. He's not that late, said Momo. And he gave us a warning, said Mashireo. He just waned an excuse to use the nickname he thought of, said Aiko. Aiko, muttered Hibiki. Izuku sat down. Is everything alright? Asked Ochako. There's something I have to tell about my childhood, both of them. Sighed Izuku. He began to tell them about how in his past life his first biological father was a mad scientist with the goal of taking over an entire sea. He had altered him and his bothers, and explained he was a quadruplet, genes to turn him to remorseless living weapons, but his first mother had taken a drug reversed the genetic engineering. However, it only worked for him, and all three of his brothers had no emotions as well as had superpowers. His father didn't care that his three brothers mercilessly bullied him for not having powers and being weak. What does that have to do with the childhood from this life? Asked Hibiki, dreading the answer. He knew the truth, however. He had gotten his file, that somehow Izuku had gotten his quirk late in life. But he knew someone had to ask it. I had gotten my quirk late in life. They don't know how I got it in my teens, but I did. Lied Izuku. I was bullied because of it, beaten up for being weak, mocked for it. Just like your past life. Said Momo. Why were you late? Asked Mashareo. Wait. Deku. Said Ochako. He was one of my main tormentors. Said Izuku, who started to cry. I still considered him a friend, but after knowing I went through the same thing twice. Ochako and Momo flinched when he said that. Neither one could imagine going through their childhoods all over again. I had to tell him that I was going to take it anymore. Said Izuku, I know we're just going to fight again in the future, but I had to tell him. He's a jerk. Pointed out Toru. I know, but like I said, I admired so much about him. Said Izuku, but at the same time I know how much of a horrible person he was, and the attributes I admired from him I can see in my crewmates. Are you ever going to tell him? Asked Ochako. Unless he changes, I'm never telling him. Said Izuku, and I don't see that ever happening. That was when he saw cupcakes had appeared on his lap. Don't question the cupcakes. He said to himself, then looking at Toru, thanks. Hopefully you won't have to deal with him much. Said Hibiki. As long as I don't talk to him. Muttered Izuku. Is it okay to still call you Deku? Asked Ochako, blushing. It's fine. It's as you say, it sounds like do your best. Said Izuku, blushing right back, I don't mind when you call me that. Talking about it helps. Said Momo. Yeah. Said Izuku. Remember the first rule of the group. Said Hibiki, don't talk about it outside this room without permission. The others nodded in agreement about it, with Izuku breathing a sigh of relief. After the group let out, Izuku approached Momo. Hey Momo, there's something I need to ask you. Said Izuku. What is it? Asked Momo. Will help me with training with the sports fest? Asked Izuku. Why? Asked Momo. Well, it's just that I have a problem with hitting women now from my past life. Said Izuku. Really? Asked Momo, then again she had a familiar feeling when he said it. Yeah, and I figured you might be the best one to ask about this. Said Izuku. She remembered what she had heard about his fighting skills. Alright, but you can't go easy on me. I need training as well. Said Momo, going into Urza mode. The point of my training is so that I learn not to go easy. Said Izuku. Oh, right. Said Momo with a sweat drop. Elsewhere, Bakugo walked home grumbling. He felt like that something was very wrong in the universe. Like a fundamental law of the universe had completely vanished. Of course he wasn't going to say any of this out loud or to anyone, but he was going to demand answers. And with that out way, they were looking forward to the sports festival. After all, it was a big event, and they needed to get noticed. Even if the 5 of them had a slight advantage. That will be it for this part. I hope everyone enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and comment if you want part 7. If you want to hear more from me, subscribe. I hope to see you all in the next one.